You Owe Me One Universe by Chad Lucas, Chapter 22, OK Rockstar, Ezra. The team was in a great mood at our Friday morning shoot-around. Ty was even more extra than usual, bouncing around the gym, whooping whenever someone made a shot. "Tomorrow we win it all," he hollered before we headed to class, and everyone roared in agreement. Brian was still grinning as we walked to homeroom. "Want to sleep over tonight?" he asked me. I didn't have the chance to say yes before Ty threw his arms around our shoulders. "Just don't stay up too late. Tomorrow's the big game. Graham Creighton is tough, but we can take them." Brian patted Ty's arm. "We promise we'll be good, Mom." I snickered. "I'll allow your sarcasm as a sign that you're feeling better," Ty said, "but I'm serious." "We know," Brian said. "We haven't forgotten your butt speech, Ty. We'll be ready." "That's the spirit." Ty squeezed our shoulders and let us go. Brian grinned at me. He looked so happy, I couldn't help grinning back. A burst of laughter rung out behind us, and a pack of boys charged past, sending a herd of 7th graders scrambling out of the way. I recognized 2 heads in the pack, one blonde and one dark-haired. "Colby," Ty called. They stopped. Most of them were 9th graders I only knew from passing in the halls. Colby waved awkwardly. "Hey, guys." He briefly met my eyes and gave me that irritating little nod before he looked away. Victor did the same thing. "Coming to our game tomorrow?" Ty asked. "It's the championship. You'll be there to support your boys, right?" He nodded at the 9th graders. "Me and Colby, we go way back." The other guys looked from us to Colby. Colby squirmed. Yeah, maybe, we'll see." He was suddenly fascinated by the African Heritage Month poster on Mrs. Cullen's classroom door. "Anyway, see you later." "Yeah, see you later," Ty said. "Bye, Colby," I added. He followed his new buds down the hall. When they rounded the corner, I grinned at Ty. I liked watching Colby sweat a little. It doesn't hurt to remind him where he came from. Ty patted my back. "I like watching Colby sweat too," Brian said, "and I prefer the new quiet version of Victor. It's a massive improvement." "Maybe he actually learned his lesson from you about running his mouth," Ty cracked. Now I was the one squirming, but I didn't say anything. After school, I headed home to pack for Brian's. I was sliding my basketball jersey into my bag when my phone buzzed with a text. It was from Victor. "Good luck at your game tomorrow." This morning, Victor had only given me the "I guess I'll acknowledge that you exist" nod, and now he was texting me good luck? I guess I couldn't totally blame him. I barely acknowledged him either, not with Brian and Ty watching. Maybe I wasn't any better. "Thanks," I wrote back. I thought about leaving it at that, then I added, "I'm nervous, TBH. Playoff games are stressful. Ty takes this very seriously." I had instant regret after I sent it, like maybe that was too much, but Victor started typing. "I get it. I always hated hockey playoffs. My dad took them way too seriously." Victor was willingly revealing something about himself? My stomach did a little flip. "I didn't know you played," I wrote back. "I don't anymore. How's the songwriting coming?" I guess that was the end of Victor's personal sharing time. "Slowly. Maybe I'll be inspired if we win tomorrow." "Okay, Rockstar," he replied. I laughed. "What's so funny?" Mom asked in my doorway, startling me so bad I jumped. I shoved my phone in my pocket. "Nothing, and thanks for scaring the crap out of me. You could have knocked." She rolled her eyes. "So dramatic. Do you want to ride to Brian's?" "Sure." I finished packing and followed Mom upstairs. The finish line was in sight when a Koopa shell smoked me from behind and sent me spinning into a wall. Richie raced past, cackling with Brian a split second behind him. Richie threw his arms in the air. "Winner again! Eat it, clowns!" "You're both monsters," I moaned. Brian punched my arm. "The days show no mercy in Mario Kart. Ride or die, baby." "I'll show you no mercy." I dropped my controller and put them each in a headlock. Brian jabbed his elbow into my thigh, forcing me to let go. Brian's elbows were lethal. We wrestled until we were all cracking up. A warm buzz shot through me every time Brian laughed. When we flopped on the couch, Richie peered at me. "Are you growing a mustache?" I shrugged. "I just haven't shaved yet. It's not that noticeable, is it?" Brian poked my lip. "It's getting there, like 1/5 of a real mustache." He gave me a mischievous grin. Richie folded his hands behind his head. "I can't wait to grow one. I'm going to look so hot with a mustache." "Yeah, good luck with that, Rich," Brian snickered. I stroked my upper lip. "Maybe I should grow one. It could add to my rock star aura." "Did you find a bass player for your band?" Richie asked. Brian gave me a sideways look. "Since when do you have a band?" "I don't. I was just joking with Richie." "Oh." He looked at me for a second longer, and I wasn't sure what he was thinking. Then he hopped up to get snacks. We abandoned Mario Kart and watched a movie before calling it a night. We texted Ty to assure him we were going to bed. When the light was out, Brian rolled toward me. "Thanks for coming over. This was fun. I know I haven't been very fun lately." "I had fun too," I told him, "and don't apologize for." I know, he went quiet. I feel like I missed a lot, though. Like, what's new with you? The talent show's coming up, right? What are you going to play? I haven't totally decided yet, but I exhaled. I'm kind of maybe writing a song. Really? Brian propped up on one elbow. That's great. Can I hear it sometime? If you're giving sneak previews. I thought about telling him how making music with Victor had sparked all kinds of creative ideas and how I didn't know what to do with the Victor dilemma. But tonight had been great and he just started feeling better. I didn't want to ruin the vibe. Maybe if I finish it, I said. Whatever you play, I know it will be great. You're a rock star, Ezra. He yawned and we drifted off to sleep. Chapter 23, Supervillains, Brian. The Capital Region Championship took place at Citadel High, where Gabe and Brittany went to school. They brought a bunch of their friends and filled up half a row of the packed bleachers, and Gabe hopped down during warm-ups to give us fist bumps. He massaged my shoulders. You got this, Brian. Go win a championship. Mom was there too, and Richie, and Mrs. Cleland, along with a few other teachers from school. Miss Worth was banging a cowbell, which was both embarrassing and hilarious. I wish Dad could be here. I made Kevin promise to record some videos that I could share with Dad later. I was surprised how many other kids from school were there on a Saturday. Maddie Jacobs called Ezra's name and waved. It had been a while since Halifax North played for a banner, so I guess some school spirit had kicked in. Ty glanced toward the far end of the gym. Well, look at that. I didn't think Colby and Victor would actually show up. Ezra turned to stare. Huh. The clock ticked toward tip-off. Graham Creighton Junior High was big and strong, and they had a kid named Damar Downey, who was one of the best scorers around. Ty played with him on the provincial team, and they were friends, when they weren't facing each other for a championship. I'm coming for you, Ty, Damar yelled as we finished warm-ups. I'm ready, Ty hollered back. He bounced on his toes. Let's do this. I felt my usual pre-game jitters. The ARPs had hit hard, and I'd gone to the bathroom 4 times already. But I was excited, too. I knew we could do this. The universe owed me. Apparently, the universe disagreed. Damar didn't miss once in the opening minutes, and he rocketed Creighton to a 10-2 lead. Ty picked up 2 quick fouls trying to stop him, and Coach had to take him out for a while since you only got 5 fouls in a game and we couldn't afford to lose Ty too early. He slapped the bench in frustration as Harrison replaced him. Just as we started to settle down and find a rhythm, Andre collided with a Creighton defender mid-air as they battled for a rebound, and when he landed, his knee buckled. He fell to the floor and screamed. The gym went silent, except for Andre moaning. We huddled by our bench, shell-shocked. Coach and Andre's dad helped him to the bench. As they approached, we could tell it was bad. We should take you to the hospital, his dad said. Andre grimaced. I have to stay, for the team. His dad shook his head. There's no way you can play. I know, Andre's voice cracked, but I'm not leaving. He sat at the end of the bench, gritting his teeth. We were 7 minutes into the game. Our 2 top scorers were out, and one wasn't coming back. This was a disaster. I put my hands on my head and took deep breaths to try to cut off the growing tightness in my chest. Hang in there, guys, Coach Williams said. Stay focused. We tried. I switched to guarding Damar and did a decent job slowing him down, but we were still cold on offense. Jaden couldn't make a shot, and Harrison was, well, he wasn't high. My frustration spiked as I fought through Creighton's swarming defense and found open teammates, only to watch their shots clank off the rim. I cursed under my breath as Harrison rushed a putback attempt and missed from 3 feet. When the buzzer sounded for halftime, we were down 36-21. We retreated to the locker room with Andre hopping on one leg as he held on to Jaden and Harrison for support. It was as quiet as a funeral. My chest buzzed and ugly thoughts crowded my mind. I tried to shake them off. I wanted to be done with Goblin Mode. I didn't want to go back there. So that wasn't great, Coach said. No kidding, Jaden sighed. He glanced at Andre. We're missing you bad, man. Andre's eyes clouded. It hit me that this was the last junior high game for him and all our 9th graders. It wasn't fair that after everything he had to watch from the bench. You guys can't go out like chumps, he said. We can still beat these guys. That's right, Ty insisted. It's not over. It's not even close to over, Coach said. We'll have more minutes from Ty in the second half. Be smart out there, Ty. No more fouls. Ezra, you're starting the second half, and Brian, you're helping us stay in this game. But we need you to shoot more. Run the pick and roll with Ty. And when you're open, let it fly. For real, Andre gave me a determined look. You're one of our best shooters. Light it up. The whole team looked at me like they were counting on me. I nodded tightly. Got it. We mustered as much enthusiasm as we could for a cheer. As everyone was leaving the locker room, Ty and Ezra stopped me. You okay? Ezra asked. I was tempted to say yeah and keep going, but I didn't want to pretend with my friends anymore. No, I admitted. I'm starting to feel goblin-y. Good, Ty said. Use it. Ezra and I looked at him in surprise. Don't get me wrong, don't start a fight or anything, Ty added, but just let it out, B. It's okay to be mad. I'm mad too. I glanced at Ezra. He let out a breath. Maybe Ty's right. Maybe you hold things in too much. He grinned. Be spicy, Spicy B. Maybe they were both right. I want to win this game so bad it hurts, I said. That's what I'm talking about, Ty poked my chest. It's time for us to become supervillains. The locker room door swung open. Everything okay in here? Coach Williams asked. We're good, Coach, Ty answered, just talking about how we're taking over the game. Great, Coach gave me a fist bump. Keep shooting. On our first play of the second half, Ty screened my defender and I launched a three-pointer. Swish. After Creighton missed, we ran the same play, and this time I threaded a pass to Ty when his man rushed out to stop me from shooting. Ty made a layup and the lead was down to 10. Let's go, I yelled. The rest of the third quarter was the Brian and Ty supervillain attack. After all those early mornings together, we could find each other without even thinking. If Ty screened for me, I pulled up and shot or lobbed him a no-look pass for a layup. Sometimes we flipped roles and Ty found me for an open shot or drove to the hoop if the defense was slow to react. When Creighton switched to a zone, I drove at the hoop and whipped the ball to Ezra, who was open in the corner when the defense collapsed on me. Ezra drained his shot and pumped his fist. The buzzer sounded to end the quarter, and suddenly we were only down by 2 points. Yes, I hollered. I'd never been this loud on the court before, but it felt right. The buzz in my chest had turned into electricity. I had played almost the whole game, and I was still energized for the fourth quarter. Maybe Ty was onto something. But Creighton wasn't giving up. DeMar started the quarter with a three-pointer to push their lead to 5, and we seesawed back and forth. Every time we got close, they found a way to answer. After DeMar stole the ball back from Jaden and raced down court for a layup, their lead was back to 68-62, with only 15 seconds to play. The Creighton players high-fived and their fans went wild. Coach called timeout and we headed to the bench. Jaden hung his head. It's not over, I reminded him. 6 points was a lot to make up in 15 seconds, but we couldn't give up yet. I wanted this game so bad. Coach drew a play for me to shoot a quick three. When the play started, I wove through my teammates and caught Ty's inbound pass high above the three-point line. DeMar raced at me, but his momentum was carrying him forward too quickly to adjust. I faked left, dribbled hard to the right, and launched. Swish. 68-65. Our fans went bananas. 11 seconds left. Creighton inbounded right away instead of calling a timeout, hoping to catch us off guard before we set up our defense. But Ty knocked their pass away, and Ezra grabbed the ball and hurled it to me behind the three-point line. I caught and launched in one motion, barely clearing DeMar's outstretched fingertips. He crashed into me on his way down. The referee blew his whistle, signaling a foul while the ball was in the air. I tumbled to the court with DeMar. Then the gym erupted as the ball dropped through the net. Tie game 68-68 with 2 seconds left, and I had a free throw for a chance to give us the lead. Ty and Ezra scooped me off the floor. Ty was so wired he was almost vibrating. Ezra's eyes were wide behind his sports glasses. They walked me to the free throw line, and everyone lined up. Hundreds of eyes were on me. This could be the shot that decided the championship game. I didn't look at anyone. I did what I did every time. I took a free throw, 3 dribbles, spun the ball in my hands, stared at the rim, exhaled, and shot. Swish, we were ahead by 1. Creighton called timeout, and I glanced at the stands as I walked toward the bench. Gabe was pointing at me and screaming with a huge grin on his face. Kevin was yelling too, and Richie was hopping up and down, and Mom was wiping her eyes. Basically, everyone was cheering for me. You scored 7 points in 13 seconds, Ty hollered in my ear. That's the most badass thing I've ever seen. My teammates whooped, and even Harrison slapped me on the back. Coach signaled for quiet. Then a smile slipped out. That really was badass. Everyone hollered some more. He held up his hand again. 2 seconds, he said. 2 seconds to play the best defense of your life. Don't give up any easy shots, and whatever you do, don't foul. He looked at me. You know they want the ball in DeMar's hands. I nodded. I won't let him score. I went to DeMar immediately as Creighton walked back on the court. He lined up with his teammates. The referee handed the ball to the inbounding player and started counting. They had 5 seconds to inbound, then the clock started. I chased DeMar toward I chased Damar through 2 screens, keeping a hand in his face. I didn't want him catching the ball, and if he did, I wanted him off balance so he couldn't get a clean shot. I did my job perfectly. I saw the desperation in his eyes as he bobbed and weaved, trying to get open, but I wouldn't let him go. As the inbounder was running out of time, he turned away from Damar, but he found one of his teammates near the baseline and threw a pass. I was stuck to Damar, too far away to get the ball. Jaden was a step late as the Creighton player collected the pass and shot. The buzzer sounded while the ball was in the air, and a split second later, it kissed off the backboard and dropped through the net. Game over. Graham Creighton won 70-69. Damar screamed in celebration and dove into a pile with his teammates. Creighton fans poured onto the court. I stood with my hands on my head, numb. I couldn't believe it. After all that energy, all that sweat, all the shots I made to lead to a huge comeback, we still lost. We lost. I fell to my knees and burst into tears. I hated that I was crying on the floor in a packed gym, but I couldn't help it. I tried so hard. All I'd done for months was try every single day. I was sobbing so hard my shoulders shook. Ty wrapped his arms around me. He was crying too. This sucks, B. We were so close. Ezra joined us, and we sat there, blubbering. When we finally stood up, the whole team was around us, everyone sniffling and wiping their faces on their jerseys. Andre's eyes were red as he leaned on Jaden. Even Coach was misty. He clapped a hand on my shoulder. I don't even know how to tell you how proud I am, he said, his voice raspy. You played your heart out, and they just hit one more shot today. That's how it goes sometimes. But you played like a champion, Brian. You were a real leader. My throat was still lumpy, and I swallowed hard. Eventually, we lined up to shake hands with the Creighton players. It hurt to see them celebrating, knowing how close we'd come to being in their shoes, but I couldn't be mad at them. Damar gave me a shoulder bump. No one's played me that tough all year, he said. You should try out for the provincial team with me and Ty. Thanks, I said. It felt good to get a compliment from a player as good as Damar. It felt even better when Gabe and his high school buddies surrounded me. Brian, you were clutch. Brian, you were clutch. Gabe punched my chest. You hit 7 threes. You scored 32 points, and I bet you had a triple-double. He grinned. You are fired up, too. I love seeing you like that. That was unreal, added a huge kid with a deep voice. Those last 2 threes were daggers, man. You got one enormous set of ahem. Mrs. Clellan stepped into the circle. The guy didn't finish his sentence, and his friends snickered. She smiled at me. I've watched more games than I can count, and your second half today was maybe the best performance I've ever seen. Gabe covered his heart. Mom, ouch. Better than the time I hung 40 on Cole Harbor? Mrs. Clellan shrugged. The stakes were higher. Gabe's friends laughed. She's got you there, another roused him. Brittany gave me a hug. Richie and Kevin rushed over and reenacted my game-tying three-pointer, with Kevin falling on Richie like Damar landed on me. Then the moms descended on us, mine, Ty's, and Ezra's, and decided they needed a group picture. We protested, but no kids had ever won an argument with 3 moms who wanted a photo. We stood against the wall with Ty in the middle, his arms around our shoulders. I love you guys, Ty said as our moms snapped away. And next year we're winning it all. Sizzle Squad domination. Deal, I said. Next year's ours. The sting of losing faded a little as Mrs. Clellan drove me, Mom, and Richie home. I was still haunted by those last 2 seconds, but I thought about what Ty said. I'd proven I could play against anyone. Ty and I were practically unstoppable when we got on a roll, and Ezra had hit some big shots too. We'd keep working all spring and summer, and next year we'd finish junior high as champions. I leaned against the headrest. It had been a while since thinking about the future felt exciting instead of exhausting. Something had been different on the court today, too. Ty was right about playing with emotion, but I guess Gabe had been telling me the same things, and Dr. Bender, too, in her own way. I got so swept up in the game that I'd stopped wrestling with the goblin and just played. I felt confident. It had felt good. Now if only I could figure out how to do that outside the basketball court.